Good evening, everybody. Lovely to see you. Are you having a good Boomtown? It's one of the great honors of my life is to have written a book which inspired, called From What Is to What If, which inspired the people who put on this amazing festival to make this year's theme the revolution of the imagination. I couldn't be prouder, and thank you so much to all of them. So I've just got a few minutes before I introduce something very, very wonderful. And the first thing that I want to say is I am a... Sorry? I am an actual time traveler. I spend my time traveling through time, and I know that might sound a little bit unbelievable, but I have brought evidence for you. So, for example, this is myself and my colleague as we travel through time to go and visit the future that we could still create. And we go there to collect recordings and take photographs of what the future could be like. And there are many different futures that spread out in front of us from this point. And some of them, believe me, are absolutely horrible. We don't want to go there. Trust me on that. But there are some that are incredible. And I have a little bit of film to show you that is evidence of my time-traveling powers. This is a film that somebody took in my house very recently, where you can see me setting off on one of my many missions into the future, into 2030. So I know the way it works at Boomtown is like this wonderful, people go, yeah, but I want to teach you a different sound, which I would love to occasionally hear you go, ooh. Can we try an ooh? Because in my town, we have built the world's first successful time machine. Thank you. And what I want to do is to tell you in the tiny bit of time I have about a recent adventure that we took to that future. We started here on this street. You know this street. It's just round the corner from your house. You go down to the shops, turn left, first right, this street. You know the one. And we set our time machine up on that street. And we set the dial for 2030. And when we stepped out of that time machine into 2030, that street looked like this. Ooh. In just 6 years, because we came together and we worked together and we made that future actually happen. And when you turn around and look the other way down the street, it looked like this. In just 6 years. Things can change really quickly sometimes. And my friends, the bicycle rush hours of 2030 are the most extraordinary, wonderful thing. A river of bicycles in the morning, a river of bicycles in the evening. And you might remember in 2024, when you go into the big cities, you see these signs for cars, how many car parking spaces. In 2030, they have those for bicycles. But they're all in Dutch. I have no idea why. Something happened in 2026 that nobody wanted to tell me about. But we built the infrastructure and people used it because we realized that for every £1 million we spent building good cycling infrastructure, we saved £38 million off the national health bill. It wasn't an expense, it was an investment in health and well-being. All those underground car parks, we didn't need them anymore. And now they're full of bicycles and all of that infrastructure. Houses now are built using local materials. People have access to affordable, warm homes using healthy materials. One of the biggest growth areas in the economy then was the de-paving industry, getting concrete out of our towns. This is a school playground we went to visit. In 2024, it looked like this. The depaving sector is now huge. This is I brought you back a copy of the front cover of Forbes magazine from 2030. These are the most popular jobs in that 2030. Depaving, seaweed farming, imagination activists. The culture really changed during that time. We now build whole neighborhoods that don't have any space for cars because we just don't need them anymore. And my friends, the bird song is so much louder. The air smells so much better. And there was a look in people's eyes of, I think we might just do this. I get emotional talking about it. Having been there, you're gonna love it. This is a school that we went to visit, designed by the kids. When you let kids design their own schools, they design something like this. And in the middle of this school is a rainforest. And the UK reached its target by 2030 of 60% of schools having a rainforest in the middle. And mental health is so much better as a result. There's now just beauty through our lives, just because beauty is a wonderful, wonderful thing. There's food growing everywhere. Our town landscapes look like this with food gardens everywhere we go. We've now developed the humility to recognize that beavers are much better hydrological engineers than human beings could ever possibly be. So we don't have floods anymore because all that upland we handed over to beavers who turn them into these incredible biodiverse, buzzing, awesome, awesome landscapes. We developed that humility to step back and let nature do its thing. And the food system is just phenomenal. We went to visit this place where they grow 80% of all the food for all the schools in the town. And they cook it and they process it, and it led to such huge behavior change in that place. It was just incredible. So all those shitty companies like Sodexo and Serco who make school meals, they all went bankrupt in 2027 because we didn't need them anymore. And now all of the energy that we use, about most of that renewable energy, all the energy that we use, comes from renewable sources. The beauty is that more than half of it is owned by you. As communities, as people, we own the energy infrastructure. And Shell and BP all went bankrupt in 2027. And I still have a slight hangover from the parties we had to celebrate their demise. It was a beautiful moment in history. And I have to tell you as well that after the great ceasefire of 2024, that since 2027, there has been a free Gaza, and which has had huge benefits to the world, to the region. The waging of peace has become a much greater skill than the waging of war. So all of the stories, I'm going to just step back for a moment into 2024. Because you might be thinking, oh, well, you're just making this stuff up. None of that stuff actually happens. Every story that I've just told you already exists somewhere. We started our journey in Amsterdam. Then we went to Barcelona, then we went to Utrecht, then we went to Leeds, then we went to Madrid, Cornwall, France. We're not waiting for someone to invent some kind of silver bullet. Everything we need to do already exists. What's missing is the longing, is the desire for that. So a lot of what I try to do is about this idea of cultivating longing. How do we fall in love with that future? Maybe that's a better way to get there than just talking about collapse and extinction and apocalypse all the time. Let's tell the stories that allow us to fall in love with how that future could be. The great bell hooks once wrote, "What we cannot imagine cannot come into being." We have to imagine it first, and then we have to go and do it. And this festival has been such a beautiful example of being able to rehearse a very different kind of future. So that's what I wanted to say to you. I just wanted to check. Are we done? Do you want me to finish? Oh, you want me to keep going? Oh. Do you know, I'm going to tell you a little story. I was in France. I go to France a lot, right, and I do talks. And I was in a place called Pontivy, and I gave a talk there. And and when it finished, somebody said, "Can I ask a question?" And the first question somebody said was, "The last time I was in this room, I came to a talk by the last surviving member of the French resistance." She was 95. She was in the French resistance as an incredibly, incredibly brave teenager. And so somebody asked her a question. They said, "Was there anything that everybody that you knew in the French resistance had in common?" And she thought about it for a little while. And then she said, "Yes, they were all optimists." When you need optimists, you really, really need optimists. And we really need optimists now. So I'm going to, I don't know, I think the band have left. So normally when I do a talk, I'd say, has anybody got any questions? But you're a little bit far away for that. So I'm just going to say, in Paris in 1968, the student revolutionaries used to say, "Power to the imagination." So I'm going to leave you by saying, "Power to the imagination." Shall I say this? And now, no, I'm not going to say that. Someone else is going to say that. Thank you. This has been really one of the greatest honors of my life. You're all wonderful. Keep dreaming. Keep talking to each other, talking about the longing. I feel like longing is one of the most powerful tools that we have as activists. When we went to the moon, we cultivated going to the moon by telling stories and sharing and making films and all sorts of stuff. We need to be cultivating longing in that same way. Anyway, thank you so much. Enjoy what comes next. Power to the imagination.